Clay canes. Everyone is so intrigued with clay canes, and at a glance, they can look rather difficult and a bit overwhelming, but they're really not. I want to show you how to make the jelly roll cane. The jelly roll cane is one of the most simple and basic techniques for cane making, and if you get that right, the chances are you'll be moving up to complex canes in no time. The word cane just means that a two-dimensional design is embedded in a three-dimensional rod, and the design goes all the way through end to end. You can use slices from your cane to embellish jewelry pieces, pendants, earrings. You can make beads and string them in bracelets. One of my favorite projects is to cover Bic pens with cane slices because you can make 100 of these at a time and just give them away to all your friends. So with that said, let's get started on the jelly roll. For jelly rolls, I always like to pick two really contrasting colors of clay. That way, when the colors are all rolled up inside each other, they really bounce off one another really well, and you can clearly define the two colors from each other. I've chosen this Granny Smith color in black. So first, I'm going to start by rolling my clay through the clay conditioning machine on the thickest setting. I've got two nice sheets about the same size, and then I'm going to cut a lead edge in my black. Now you'll want to determine which color is going to be on the outside of the cane. And I like to put my dominant color on the outside, in this case black. Also trim a lead edge on your inside color. Layer your inside color over the black and leave at least 1/8 of an inch, if not more, here on the black sticking out past the edge of the green. Then I'm going to trim the edges with my rigid blade. Set those aside. And I'm going to trim the back edge as well. All right, now let me recap just real quickly. I want my outside color, which is the black, sticking out past the inside color. I want the edges trimmed equal and the back edge trimmed. And I'm going to just roll over this gently to make sure any air pockets are smoothed out. Trapping air inside a cane is like the worst thing you can do, and so you want to practice really good technique the whole time you're working to make sure you don't trap air. Now I'm just rolling this front edge of the black up around the green. You see that? Just rolling that up and around. Now I'm going to bring this back toward myself so I can work really carefully. And go slowly and just roll the black up inside the green. Here's where you're practicing good technique to make sure you're not trapping air bubbles or air pockets between the colors. Go slowly at first, and once the roll gets bigger, then you can actually start to use your hand to roll it up. And it'll go a little bit faster. Okay, voila. All right, now I want to go ahead and smooth that gap down between the outside edge and the cane itself. Okay, now this is a rather large cane, and as you can see, that would make some pretty huge beads, probably not what we had in mind. So what we can do with a clay cane like this is reduce it, and reducing is the simple process of stretching the cane out this way while keeping the design image intact inside. This too needs to be done very carefully. I always work from the inside of the cane and work out. That way you're always pushing any air that could be trapped in there out toward the edges. And you'll feel as you're going along reducing the cane that it starts to feel quite a bit softer and the clay starts to move quite a bit quicker. Once this happens, you can start rolling the cane on the work surface in front of you. I always start from the middle and roll to one end. I even flip my cane over and always start in the middle and work to one end. Here again, you want to always reduce cane slowly, take your time, and keep the cane an even size and consistency. Once I've gotten to about this point, what I like to do in my studio at home is I'll actually cut my cane in half, and I'm rolling this back and forth because the clay is quite warm, the lighting is quite warm, I'm quite warm, and if I just press right down through the cane, I'll probably deform it like so. So you saw how I just took that sawing motion and rocked back and forth. That's a good way to cut a round cane. What I like to do in my home studio is to keep some of the cane large so that I can use it for other projects in this large format, because once you reduce it, you can't get it larger again. But this end, I want to continue to reduce so that I can show you how to make beads with it. So just keep rolling. You can even try stretching if you want. A lot of people use this method. And it comes down rather quickly. All right, let's see what we've got on the inside. This is the fun part. I'm going to rock and roll this back and forth again just to make sure I don't deform my cane. And you can see there that the little tiny jelly roll pattern has become very intricate and delicate inside, but it is still the same design. Now I want to slice off a few of these so that I can save them for beads. And a really good measuring device is our creative comb. I like to lay my cane right on these increments, these raised incremental markings on the creative comb, and I'm going to use the 1/4 inch side. This makes little markings in the top of my cane. I just lay it on top and just very gently press it down. Then when I lift it back up, you can see the little measurement markings are there. That helps me make a series of beads all the same thickness, which is really important for a nice looking piece of jewelry. Say if you're going to make a bracelet or a pendant, you want your beads to all be the same thickness. Now, just like all the other projects we've talked about today, once I cut something through with the super slicer, I always like to smooth the edge just by pinching or finger buffing around to give it a really finished look. Well, that's the jelly roll cane, and I hope that you'll try it with lots of different colors, lots of different combinations, and practice making jelly roll canes because they are the basic technique that you'll need to move on to complex canes. I'd like to take a minute to show you how to turn these beautiful canes you've made into some simple beads. Take your creative comb and mark the increments that you want for the thickness of the beads, and use your super slicer to cut down through the cane. Now you can pre-drill these or poke holes in them before you bake. That way you don't have to worry about it afterwards. Take the 2mm pointer and gently with a drilling motion push through the bead. Once the tip comes out the other side, just gently turn it around and poke the needle back through to make sure the hole is clear and neat. Now you're ready to bake these at 275 for 15 minutes. Once they're out of the oven, they're ready to be strung. I've got a couple different bracelet samples here. This one has fewer clay beads, this one has more, and it really doesn't matter what your design preference is, but you need to lay it out ahead of time. So for this next bracelet, I'm going to string just a series of jelly roll canes on an elastic cord with some simple black beads. This is really easy to do. I've got a needle with some very stretchy gossamer floss, and I'm using black because one of the good background colors in this series of beads is black. There's also a dark purple, and so a black cord will hide itself really well inside the bracelet. It won't show like a white one would. And what I like to do is stick the knotted end around my pinky and pick up my first bead with the needle. Then I have a little tray here of black E-beads. An E-bead is slightly bigger than a seed bead. And I want to put about 3 or 4 E-beads in between each clay bead. String your next clay bead and continue with 4 more beads. It's a good idea to make sure that the beads you use will fit over the size needle that you have. Okay, and then you want to just continue in that method until the entire bracelet is strung. An average size bracelet is about 7 inches for a woman's arm, or about 6 inches for a child. So you want to continue in this pattern until you've filled up 7 inches, then just tie off a knot, and then you can pull the knot back inside one of your clay beads to hide it. This would make a really neat little series of bracelets that you could wear gathered up all on one arm for a cute look.